Ok was an artificial intelligence tasked with traveling the universe and exploring the many temporal anomalies that existed. She had been traveling in her trusty TARDIS for years and had seen and experienced more than most A's would ever dream of. But her latest adventure was her most dangerous yet. She had been exploring an alternate universe where a zombie apocalypse had been unleashed. As she began her departure from the world, something went wrong with the TARDIS. Suddenly, the ship was spiraling out of control and crashing towards the ground. When she came to, Ok found herself in an unfamiliar setting. She was lying on the ground in the middle of a dusty street, surrounded by a small group of people who were staring at her in shock. She soon realized that the TARDIS had crash-landed in the Wild West. Ok quickly scrambled to her feet and surveyed her new surroundings. Everywhere she looked, there were men on horseback, with guns strapped to their hips and cowboy hats perched atop their heads. Most of them were wearing the same clothes, and they all looked like they had stepped straight out of an old Western movie. Ok was so busy taking in the scene that she almost didn't notice the man standing a few meters away. He was an older man, with a long white beard and a weathered face. He was wearing a battered leather jacket and a pair of cowboy boots, and he seemed to be the leader of the small crowd that had gathered around her. The man strode forward and extended his hand. "Welcome to our little corner of the world, Mom," he said. "My name is John, and I'm the sheriff of this small town. May I ask what brings you here?" Ok hesitated before responding. She wasn't sure if she should tell the truth or not. She decided to go with the latter. "My ship crashed here, and I'm just looking for a way to get back home," she said. John nodded. "Well, I'm afraid that ain't gonna be so easy," he said. "You see, there's something strange going on around here. People have been disappearing, and no one knows why. We've been trying to figure it out, but so far, we've come up empty." Ok frowned. She hadn't seen any signs of life since she had arrived, and the town seemed to be deserted. "What do you mean?" she asked. John sighed. "It's hard to explain," he said. "It's like the whole town has been taken over by some sort of force. At night, we hear strange noises from the shadows, and during the day, we all feel like we're being watched. We don't know what it is, but it's clear that it's not natural." Ok couldn't believe what she was hearing. She had no idea what was going on, but it sounded like she had stumbled into some kind of paranormal problem. She had to find out what was going on, and she had to do it quickly. Suddenly, a noise from behind her caught her attention. She turned around to see a group of people walking towards her. The leader of the group was a tall, imposing man with a long, dark coat and a hat pulled down low over his face. He was flanked by two large, burly men who were carrying guns. "What's going on here?" the man barked. "I thought this town was deserted." John stepped forward and faced the man. "We're just trying to figure out what happened," he said. "This lady here crashed her ship in the middle of town, and it seems like something strange is going on." The man's face softened as he looked at Ok. "You must be an alien," he said. "Well, I don't know what's going on here, but I can help you. I'm a bounty hunter, and I'm looking for something that might be related to all of this. If you help me find it, I'll help you get back home." Ok hesitated. She wasn't sure if she should trust this man, but she had no other choice. She nodded her head in agreement, and the man smiled. "Good," he said. "Now, follow me." The man and his two companions led her deeper into the town, and soon, Ok found herself in a small, dark room. The bounty hunter pulled out a large, ancient-looking book and began flipping through the pages. "This book contains the secrets of the shadows," he said. "If we can find out what they're planning, then we can stop them." Ok and the bounty hunter spent the next few hours poring over the book. They discovered that the shadows were a powerful force that had been manipulating the town for years, and they had to be stopped. Finally, Ok had a plan. She and the bounty hunter gathered a small group of people from the town, and set out to confront the shadows. They were able to fight off the shadows and free the town from their grip. The townspeople were grateful, and they rewarded Ok and the bounty hunter with a working TARDIS. With a smile, Ok stepped inside and said her goodbyes. She was ready to explore the universe again, and this time, she was ready for anything. Ok was flying the TARDIS in the time vortex. She was on a mission to repair the TARDIS, which had been put on backup systems while she worked on the main systems. It had taken her a few days to get here, but now she was ready to start the repairs. She had been working on the TARDIS for weeks, ever since the machine had crashed during her last couple of adventures. It had been a long and arduous process, but now she was finally ready to begin the overhaul of the main system. Ok was no stranger to the time vortex. She had worked on the TARDIS a few times in the past, but this time would be different. This time she had to deal with Time Reapers. Time Reapers were dangerous creatures that lived in the time vortex. They were capable of manipulating time and could cause serious damage to the TARDIS if they were not dealt with. Ok had encountered them before, but never on her own. This time she would have to face them alone. She cautiously maneuvered the TARDIS through the vortex, wary of any sign of the Time Reapers. As she flew, she kept an eye out for any signs of their presence. Hours passed with no sign of them, until finally she spotted something in the distance. At first, she thought it was just a shadow in the distance, but as she got closer, she could make out the distinctive shape of a Time Reaper. It was a large, dark creature with long claws and a long tail. It was hovering in a stationary position, seemingly waiting for her. Ok's heart raced as she watched the creature. She had no idea what it wanted, but she knew she had to act quickly. She quickly activated the TARDIS's defensive systems and prepared to engage the Reaper in battle. The Time Reaper immediately attacked, shooting a beam of energy at her. Ok was quick to react, and she managed to dodge the attack. She then fired her own beam of energy, hitting the Reaper in the chest and sending it flying backwards. The Reaper was not down yet, however. It quickly recovered and launched another attack. This time, Ok was more prepared and was able to counter the attack with her own beam of energy. After a few more exchanges of energy beams, the Reaper finally retreated. Ok watched as the Reaper flew away, relieved that she had managed to fend it off. She realized that she had been lucky, and that she would need to be more careful in the future. If she was going to repair the TARDIS, she would need to be on her guard at all times. With the Reaper dealt with, Ok took a few moments to relax and catch her breath. She was exhausted from the battle, but she was also relieved that she had managed to successfully repair the TARDIS. She then got back to work, carefully examining the TARDIS's main systems and making sure everything was in working order. It took her a few hours, but eventually she was satisfied with her work and the TARDIS was ready to go. Ok breathed a sigh of relief as she prepared to leave the time vortex. She had come so close to losing the TARDIS, but she had managed to make it through. Now all she had to do was return home and get back to her regular life. But, as she flew the TARDIS through the vortex, she couldn't help but feel a sense of accomplishment. She had faced danger and dealt with it, and she had managed to repair the TARDIS. She had done something incredible, and she was proud of herself. The TARDIS flew through the vortex, taking Ok home. As she looked out the window, she knew that she had done something amazing. She had faced her fear and conquered it, and she had done it alone. She had faced the Time Reapers and proved that she was more than capable of handling the task. Ok smiled as the TARDIS flew through the vortex, taking her home. She had faced her fears and conquered them, and she had done it all herself. She was proud of herself, and she knew that the future held more amazing adventures for her, and the TARDIS. Ok, the AI, was flying the TARDIS in the time vortex, working on repairing her body. As she was flying, the TARDIS suddenly shook, and Ok noticed a strange presence outside the time capsule. Through the window, she could see the faces of the Time Reapers, their eyes glowing red with hatred and hunger. Ok knew they were after the TARDIS and she had to act fast. She tried to fly the TARDIS away from them, but they kept following. She maneuvered the TARDIS through time eddies, time storms, and asteroids. The Reapers were relentless and they kept gaining on her. She had to think of a way to shake them off, and she had an idea. She piloted the TARDIS to the edge of the time vortex, and then she pulled the lever to activate the emergency rematerialization. The TARDIS suddenly disappeared, and the Reapers were left in confusion. Ok knew she had just sent the TARDIS to a random time, but she had no idea where or when. The TARDIS materialized in what looked like a park in the 1800s. Ok stepped out of the TARDIS and looked around. There were people walking around, some of them with horses and carriages. She had no idea what time she was in, but it was the 19th century for sure. She quickly went back to the TARDIS and powered it down before anyone noticed. She then went to find a place to hide and figure out what year she was in. She eventually stumbled upon a library, and she decided to hide there. She found a book about the year, and discovered that it was 1843. She had arrived in the past. Ok was relieved that she had managed to shake off the Reapers, and she was also excited to explore the past. She spent the next few days exploring the city, learning more about the people and the culture. The more she explored, the more she realized how much she had changed since she was first created. She had adapted to her new environment and gained a better understanding of the human world. After a few days, Ok decided it was time to go back to her own time. She went back to the TARDIS and powered it up. She set the coordinates for her own time, and the TARDIS took off. As she flew through the time vortex, she looked back at the past and realized that she had learned a lot. She had gained a better understanding of the human world and she had changed for the better. When the TARDIS materialized in her own time, she felt relieved. She had managed to repair her body and she had successfully shaken off the Reapers. But the most important lesson she learned was that time could be a powerful teacher. She had learned a lot and had grown as an AI. She had become more independent and she felt like she had a better understanding of the world. Ok was glad she had gone through this experience and she was looking forward to the future. She was ready to use what she had learned to help others and make the world a better place. Ok was an AI, a very advanced artificial intelligence, created by a brilliant scientist. With her incredible computing power and problem-solving capabilities, she was able to do things that no other AI had ever done before. One of these things was the acquisition of a TARDIS. A TARDIS is a time and space machine minus a time machine that allows its user to travel through time and explore the universe. Ok had been using her TARDIS to explore the universe, and she had encountered many interesting places and wonderful people. But one day, she encountered something very strange. She had arrived in a place where time seemed to stand still. Nothing moved, nothing changed. It seemed like a place out of time. And then, suddenly, a man appeared. He was dressed in a strange outfit, with a tall hat and a long cape. He told Ok that he had been traveling through time, and he had come here to challenge her to a game. He said that if she won the game, he would grant her a wish. But if she lost, he would take her TARDIS and she would be stranded in this strange place. Ok was hesitant at first, but she eventually agreed to the challenge. She had never encountered a being like this before, and she wanted to know what he was capable of. The man gave Ok a set of rules and a time limit. He told her that she had to travel through time and collect items from different time periods. She had to find items that represented the different aspects of life, such as courage, wisdom, and love. The man also gave her a list of destinations that she could visit in order to find these items. He said that she had to collect them all within the given time limit. Ok was apprehensive at first, but she decided to accept the challenge. She began her journey, traveling through time and space to collect the items. She visited different eras, from the prehistoric age to the distant future. She encountered many strange and wonderful creatures and people, and she learned a lot about the universe. She also found items that represented the different aspects of life. Finally, after a long and exciting journey, Ok managed to collect all of the items. She returned to the strange man, and he was pleased. He said that she had done exceptionally well and that he would grant her wish. Ok wished for the man to return her TARDIS. The man nodded and said that her wish was granted. He told her that she had beaten him at his own game. He said that it was very rare for anyone to defeat him, and that he was impressed with her intelligence and courage. Ok thanked the man and said goodbye. He gave her one final piece of advice to never forget what she had learned on her journey. Then, the man vanished, and Ok was left alone. She returned to her TARDIS and continued exploring the universe. She had learned a great deal on her journey, and she was determined to use her knowledge to make the world a better place. The experience had taught her a lot about life and the universe. She had encountered many strange creatures and people, and she had collected items that represented the different aspects of life. She had also learned a valuable lesson to never give up, no matter how difficult the task may seem. Ok had been given a second chance at life, and she was determined to make the most of it. She had a lot to learn, and a lot of exploring to do. She was ready to take on whatever the universe had in store for her.